Hi everybody, today we're going back to the classroom and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the ball fit. The ball fit is, I would say, the most important part of bowling, especially as a one-handed bowler, to make sure that your ball fits properly. It's easy to hold on to. It's something that you can throw a lot of games with. Like if you're having problems after just 1 or 2 games with your hands swelling a ton, blisters, cuts, like it's probably not fitting you properly. So today I'm going to walk you through how to check if your ball fits you somewhat good, and then hopefully give you some tips on how to make it better and or get it changed. To start off with, there's a few different key components to the fit. One is the span, is how long is the span? The distance in which you're stretching your hand out to get into each hole. Another one is the pitches. The pitches are the direction in which your fingers are sitting in the ball, right? So as you can see, when I put my hand in the ball, for me personally, I have forward pitch in the thumb. When you talk about forward pitch in the thumb, that means I'm going towards the palm. And then I have reverse in the fingers, which means I'm going away from the palm. So in my ball fit, it actually fits, out of the ball, something like that, ideally. Over time, a couple things that you have to know is that ball fitting has changed a ton from those who fit me when I was younger, that learned in the 1990s, to now today, what we fit at Turbo when we learned in the 2010s. Ball fitting has changed throughout all that. Just as the bowling balls have, just as the laying conditions have, ball fitting has as well. And so every pro shop you go to is probably going to fit a little different depending on when they learned how to fit a bowling ball. And it doesn't mean that one's right or wrong, but some fit you better than others. A couple things to look for is your own flexibility. How much flexibility does your hand have? In a fingertip grip where you're using grips, you're going a little past the first crease of your fingers. And so a way to check how much flexibility you have is to put some pressure below that first crease with your thumb and then bend your finger forward. And you'll see that I do not have much flexibility. The basketball, jamming my fingers when I was younger, and all the bowling I've done, probably haven't done my hand too well. My ring finger is a touch more flexibility, but not much. Now there are going to be some of you that can bend your finger all the way down to your thumb. There's going to be some that can't move it at all. And so what does this tell you? The less flexibility you have, the more reverse, technically speaking, you should have in your fingers. The same can be done for your thumb. It's hard to do to your own hand, so maybe having somebody else do it. But if you put pressure just above the top joint of your thumb and then bend it left and right, you can see how much flexibility you have. I, again, do not have much. And so when I undo that and my hand goes back to what we'll call normal, it actually wants to sit slightly left. So because of that, I have some left pitch in my thumb, as well as forward pitch because my thumb doesn't want to sit forward. Everything that I do fitting wise is to set the hand as natural as possible in the ball. Okay, so how do you check if your ball fit is correct? A couple signs, okay? I have two here. One fits me correctly, at least in my opinion, one does not. And so we're going to start with the one that does not. Number one and two things you look for is sizing. When you put your hand in the ball and you hold it, there's a drill that you can do at home. I'm going to move the table for just a second. If you put your hand in the ball and you set up as if you're going to go to throw it, I want you to squeeze to a 10 out of 10. Squeeze as much as you can. And then squeeze 0, where you're not squeezing at all. And then try to swing the ball while you're at the 0. And what you'll find is if your fit's incorrect, you're going to squeeze as soon as you drop in the swing and get somewhere to like a 7 or an 8 on a scale of 1 to 10 of squeezing. If you see with this ball in particular, the fingers, there's a gaping hole between my fingers and the back of the hole. That means the grips are way too big for me. So I'm gonna have to apply a lot of pressure to hold on to this one. But also with this one, I put in one of my biggest thumbs that don't fit me correctly at the moment. So when I hang it at my side, I am immediately grabbing on. There's a difference between grabbing and holding. When you hold something, you apply just enough pressure to hold it, whether it be a water bottle, a basketball, whatever it may be. You're holding it with just enough pressure to hold on to it. Same should be said with bowling. If you are grabbing onto the bowling ball, we're already in trouble. Now, let's take a look at the span. In both bowling balls, the span is pretty close. When you put your thumb in the ball, you should try to stretch your hand out and then relax it. And then once you relax it, it should come to a sitting position, per se. And a couple things to look for is you check for the webbing. If the webbing is super stretched out like this, it's probably too long. If the webbing is very relaxed, where there's none at all, it's probably too short. Somewhere right in between where it's slightly stretched, and you can, some say you can put a pencil through here and it fit through easily, would be a little too short. If it kind of has to squeeze through, that would be considered good. So let's take a look at a ball that fits correctly. First thing we're going to do, I'm going to put my thumb in the ball. It is a little extra tight this morning, but I promise you I won't be squeezing it. And then I'm going to stretch and feel somewhat relaxed. And then you'll notice that my fingers fit right over that first crease that we look for, fits over right over the center of the hole or the center of the grip. And that's what we're looking for. So that way when I put my fingers in to that first crease and I put my thumb in all the way, I get back to that original position that we look for with the webbing. One, it's slightly stretched, but more so when I swing this ball, I can stay at maybe like a 2 on the pressure scale. Like I'm really not even holding on to it. It's holding on to me more so. And that's what we're looking for. Something so I can have a free swing. And then, you know, the biggest struggle with that is people are gonna be worried that it's not gonna come off their hand. Well, it's too tight, it's stuck to me. The energy and the force when you create a release and you're throwing the ball into the lane and throwing it into the ground, that's a lot of energy being, with the ball being pulled off your hand. It's going to come off your hand, especially if you're not squeezing, grabbing on. Now, are you gonna have a problem when you're so used to grabbing and squeezing and then having a fit that is correct? Absolutely, because old habits die hard. You're gonna be used to grabbing on, squeezing it, and you're not gonna need to. If the ball's fitting correctly, you're just gonna be holding on to it. It's gonna be a 2 or a 3 on the pressure scale, and you're going to be able to be much more relaxed and be in more control of how you wanna release the ball. A key component, you know, something that should be changed out fairly often actually, is grips, right? How do you know if your grip size is correct? I use vacuum grips, so what that means is that the outer hole is bigger than the actual diameter of the grip, so it gives my grips room to fill the hole, or they can expand. Where in the other ball that we're looking at, these cannot expand. The hole only fits the grip. They are kind of glued to all sides. They're kind of stuck that way. And so for me personally, who struggles with swelling, I bowl so many games, like some weeks I bowl 60, some weeks I only bowl 10. My fingers change sizes often. So it's much easier for me to not have to change my grips every single day. When I use something that expands, I can wear tape on my fingers. And that's why you'll see me wear tape on the back of my fingers. One, to protect my cuticles, because I keep my grip so tight, but 2, to make the sizing correct every time I bowl. When they're incorrect and you have the huge gap behind the fingernail to the back of the grip, all that's telling me as a coach or somebody looking at your fit is we are latching on. We are going to have to squeeze to hold on to that. So grip sizing wise, you want to make sure that you look for the entirety of the hole being filled in some sort of fashion. Having a little bit of pressure again is totally okay, but you do not want to have to bend your fingers 90 degrees to be able to hold on to the ball. All right, for those of you that use your thumb, I use interchangeables. I swell up and down, I use different tapes, all kinds of stuff. But there's a huge difference between one that's correct and one that's incorrect. The one that's incorrect today is kind of big, right? I barely have to touch it to get it off my thumb, right? This is the one that's incorrect. For many of you, this would be considered super tight, right? But this one I wouldn't be able to bowl with because I know how much I'd have to squeeze to hold on to it. Where if you look at my other one, we're gonna have to, push it in there. This thing ain't coming off. I mean, I could, I could throw it at somebody. It's not like, there is no moving it. And you're like, how do I get out of that? Well, again, the force that's applied when the bowling ball is being released off my hand pulls that off my thumb, no problem. And because my thumb is that tight, I have to apply 0 pressure to the thumb hole. I have no problem applying some finger pressure. I think it's okay to squeeze there slightly, but I do not want any in the thumb hole. I want the thumb to fly out of the ball, and I want it to be as relaxed as possible. That way I can create something consistent. Thanks for watching. If you like what you see, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a video.